Hey, what's up, everybody? This is DJ Thielen, CEO of Fortune Foreclosures and founder of Flipping On Demand, and your host of, yes, that's right, DJ's Dugout. And where each week we bring to you a new phenomenal person to help inspire you to be better in your life and also in your business. And today I have on a guy that I've been friends with for about 10 years. Crazy how we met. Mr. Claudio Reilsono. What's up, buddy?
DJ, nice to see you again. It's been a while. And yes, it's I think we did meet 10, 11 years ago, something like that.
It's crazy. So you and I, I'm just adjusting my screen here. So you and I met, real quick, tell the story of how you and I first met.
Well, you owed me money. And no, I'm kidding. Well, a guy, Dave Morrison, put us together. I have a landscaping business, which my dad started 1,000 years ago, and I still have it. And you had a property in the north side of Pittsburgh. And here we are years later.
Yeah, that apartment building, man, that's a good building.
Yeah, it sure was. Great location. Great location.
Yeah. Took some turning around, man, on that apartment building. But
you were always a great guy, and we always stayed in touch, and I always appreciated that.
Yeah, man. And so crazy thing. So let's talk about, we've got about an hour, and you and I could actually talk for, on here for 3 hours, right? And probably not get to everything, that we want to talk about and inspire people. Right. But so you and I just found out actually before the show here that, I told you I was going to head back to Calabria where my grandmother in heritage is. And you were telling me that you're from there. So we literally just found out that we might be related.
Might be, which means, again, I got to be, for Christmas time, I'm expecting some presents, right?
Yeah, a better present.
There you go. That's right. Yeah, my mom and dad were both born in Calabria. My dad in Falerna, my mom in Nucera Terinese. My dad came here in 1936. He was 8. My mom came here in 63, October of 63 when they got married. Yeah.
Wow. So Claudio, we'll get into, man, because you have a lot. We got a lot of great things to share. So first of all, thanks for being on the show and the podcast. This is going to be awesome. And I know you have your own show, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. I guess start with, let's start with, because we'll go into a lot of things. Let's start with just give people a backdrop of, who Claudio Reilsono is, where you come from, and just a little snapshot of you.
Okay, well,
I'll get into what all those awards are behind you.
I bought them all. They're just decorative. I tell my daughter I earned every one of them, believe me. But and I had great teams too. But anyway, I'm from Swickley, Pennsylvania. Anybody from Los Angeles hears that name Swickley, they might remember it. Chuck Knox, the former head coach of the LA Rams, is from Swickley, Pennsylvania, who was like an uncle to me. But from Swickley, Pennsylvania, 54 next Sunday. I am the head baseball coach at Carnegie Mellon University. I'm also the general manager of professional baseball scout with the Global Scouting Bureau. Own a landscape business, do some speaking. I'm on a couple TV shows here in Pittsburgh, Steel City Sports World. I'm a co-host with some great guys, Luther Dupree, Mike Migliori, and Smokin' Jim Frazier. And I host a boxing show, Pittsburgh's only boxing show, called Pittsburgh's Ring Talk. I have a landscaping business still, as I mentioned earlier, do professional hitting lessons. I'm going to be producing some documentaries here soon. So I do a lot of different things. And I'm married. My wife, Linda, and I have been married for 20 years. We have a daughter, Ida, who is 17, and she's a senior, which is, I'm still not used to saying that. And life is good. Life is good.
Well, shoot, that goes by quick, man. You and I were chatting when my son, I think, was a sophomore,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, a little younger.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Probably younger. Yeah. So basically, man, you've been in, obviously you've been, you're known as like Mr. Baseball, all around the country. And you do, a ton of, you're asked to, talk at and speak and teach and train in a lot of camps and a lot of different things. So let's get into real quick. I want to share with people so they stay tuned in for a long time on this. Really, some crazy accolades that you've been able to achieve in life, and we'll get into how. So real quick, you're in is it 4 Hall of Fames?
Yes, but you talk about crazy things that happen. I went to my very first game, August 19th, 1973. I was 8 years old, went to Three River Stadium. A guy who, he was my uncle, for the lack of a better term. But anyway, he took me to the games, and I'd never been there, as I said. And the first baseman that day was Al Oliver. I was inducted into a Hall of Fame with him a couple years ago, the Steel City Sports World Hall of Fame. The pitcher was Jim Rooker. I brought him along. I hired him one time to be one of our scouts for our camp. The second baseman, Rennie Stennett, he did some work for us. The left fielder was Willie Stargell, and I won a Willie Stargell Lifetime Achievement Award. So if you'd have told me back then when I was 8 years old, hey, come here, 8-year-old kid, see that first baseman, you're going to be in a Hall of Fame with him someday. The pitcher, and you're going to be good friends, and he's going to work, kind of for you. The left fielder, Willie Stargell, who was a megastar back then, you're going to win an award named after him. I said, get out of here, but it goes to show you that things do happen in life. There's nothing special about me. I just persevered and had a dream and had a goal. Matter of fact, that day when I came home, my parents were from Italy. They like boxing and soccer. So I remember coming home to this house here. This is the same house I grew up in. And about 6 feet from here, it's 10 feet from here, I came home. My dad said, "Did you have a good time?" I said, "I did." I said, "But I know what I want to do with the rest of my life." He says, "What's that?" I said, "I want to be in professional baseball." And I can still see him put his hand on my shoulder, and he said, "Okay, if that's what you want to do, then me and your mom will do everything we can to make your dreams come true." And he gave me a hug and a kiss. And my mom said, "As long as you do good in school and you behave and you don't get hurt, then we'll support you." And DJ, I tell you the truth, they were there for me from day one, forever. And I always say this little quote, and it's a cute quote, but it's a true quote. If you ever see a turtle on top of a fence post, he didn't get there alone. And any awards you see here or any accolades or whatever, if it wasn't for my parents' belief and hard work and support of me, none of those things would have happened for sure. So that's how it kind of got started.
Hey, man, and that's so true. I mean, if, you see a lot of parents now, that can be kind of a deep dive, but you see a lot of parents now that want their kid to, I mean, shoot, we could get on this subject, but that want them to do this, right? Or they want them to they're in all these select things, and they want them to be this certain person. And by the time they're a teenager, they end up getting burnt out. They don't love what they do anymore. And they just walk away from, whatever they're doing, the game or whatever. So having parents, and those of you parents that are listening to this, I think that's a huge tip that you can take away from this is, whatever your kid loves, whatever your kid wants to do, if it's being a policeman, a firefighter, a pro baseball player, whatever it is just be able to support them and love them and encourage them. Right. I mean, they could have easily said, well, hey, Claudio, man, you're not that tall. You're not that big. Right. You're not Willie Stargell, man. I don't know. I mean, good luck with that dream, Hey, and that's exactly. And piss on it, right? There's a lot of parents, people around, and it's not even just parents, right? There's a lot of people around us that will, not believe in us, and from family to friends. Yeah. So talk about that. As you were growing up, you had this dream of being a pro baseball player. What route did that take you?
Well, you mentioned something about people, I call them dream killers. And I had a couple, that I cared for. There was some people that I cared for. They were my family that did nothing but stomp on my dreams and really bust my chops and very nasty about it too. And I mean, I'm sure we'll go on with, I'll be even more specific later, but I could have let that hurt me. And my parents used to fight tooth and nail. Every time something was said to me, they were quick to throw punches right back. They were always supportive of me, always. And they never doubted my abilities or my passion or my perseverance or my heart. And the other people, somebody might say, well, they just didn't believe in you. No, there's one thing, DJ, for me to say you can't do something or I don't want you to do something. And these people didn't want me to do anything. You know, for whatever reason, they wanted to see me fall flat on my face. You can call it jealousy. And they had good lives themselves, I guess. They were making a good buck. They just had something in it for me that they just did not want me to, you know, achieve my goals and dreams. And they pretty much, they used to say some great lines like, you know, time to grow up, quit baseball, be a man, get a real job, quit buffaloing people. You're not going to make it. Be realistic. It's a pipe dream, you know, and it hurt. But then after a while, what I did was, you know, you use your worst enemy to be your best ally. And I let it motivate me. So playing wise, I was always very good. But then some injuries, shoulder injuries, which my shoulder is still killing me. I threw batting practice the other day and it's still killing me. I have a torn rotator cuff and some bad knees. But to be honest with you, I had 3 tryouts. 2 of them, I was hurt. The third one, I was completely healthy. And I just didn't do well. As Sugar Ray Leonard once said, I picked a bad day to have a bad day. And, you know, and that's okay because as it wasn't okay at the time. You know, I said, you know, what am I going to do now? When my last tryout with the Pirates happened in '87, you know, I was getting older, a lot older. I was, 22 at the time. And I was pretty much done. You know yourself, it's a small window. So I remember when that day of the tryout, I was blessed with a very good arm. I could run pretty good. So I ran the 60, and I trained like crazy prior to that. There's an old field up here called Hawthorne Acres, which now S-Mark Field. It's a beautiful field. But anyway, I would get a 13-pound weight, pick it up, throw it, pick it up, throw it, run with ankle weights. My dad would hit me balls. I would go to the batting cages and hit. I would go to my old elementary school, get some pebbles, throw them on the ground, get a lacrosse ball and throw it and work on my reactions, right? And I was ready for it. And I ran the 60, which they want 7.0 and under. And I always ran about a 6.98. I was a very good base runner, but speed-wise, 6.98, which is pretty good. And I'm running, and I'll never forget, DJ. I'm running, and it was like my hand. I could see my fist pumping, and I'm saying, did they move? Did they make this a 100-yard dash? Right? It's like, what the hell? It seemed like it was like the Chariots of Fire, you know, slow motion, right? And I knew I didn't run well, and I said, okay, I'll just show off my arm. I always had a very good arm, always, right? So they put me in right field. I played infield too, but I started off in the outfield. And I got the ball, I loaded up, and I threw it, and it took 2 bounces to go to third. And my balls never took 2 bounces to go to third. And I'll never forget, I went like this. I started shaking my arm, okay? And I was completely healthy. I got it again, threw it, 3 bounces. And I said, what the hell is going on here? Then the third ball they gave me, I think it's still rolling. Okay, and that was, 30-some years ago, right? And my best thing was, I was a flashy fielder, but obviously you couldn't show it then, but I could hit. Very good hitter. They didn't even let me hit. They called everybody, but they didn't call me. I'll never forget, I was in the outfield. I was sitting on the ground, my legs were crossed. And I had a smile on my face, but I was not happy at all. And my thoughts were, how am I going to go home and tell my parents that all the work and belief and love they put into me, I'm not going to make it. Then I said, oh my God, and those people who were busting my chops, now they're really going to bust my chops. I told you he wasn't going to make it, told you he wasn't good enough. Not that they didn't think I was good enough, because they never came to my games anyway, but they wanted to see me fail, which is, they're sick. But I said, how am I going to face all that music? For 2 weeks, I told my parents, well, I did all right. We'll see what happens. I couldn't tell them that I bombed. For 2 weeks, I didn't know because everything I ever did, DJ, was for baseball, making it to, that was it. I was tunnel vision. And then I said, look, things just aren't going well here. And I said, oh, maybe I'll try again next year. I was just and my parents, okay, whatever, we'll keep trying. It was always, we will keep trying. And I knew it wasn't going to go anywhere because I knew, I was finished. And then it hit me. I said, you know what? I have 5 years of assistant coaching at my old high school, Quaker Valley High School. Maybe I'll just slide into that. And as luck, fate, the head coach was Rich Woznicki, great guy. I played for him, and he hired me as an assistant. He got into a car accident. He was okay, but he had to take a year off. So I slid into the head coaching position at age 23, and I loved it. And the bug hit me, and things went from there. And then I said, okay, if I can't make it, if I can't go over the wall, I'll go through it. So then the coaching, I said, okay, I'll coach professionally. So I know we're going to get to some other things about this, but that didn't work out. And then I got the job as a professional scout, which I know we'll get into. And then since 2001, I've had many, many, many offers to coach professionally through the Global Scouting Bureau in Italy and in Puerto Rico, in Georgia, and Florida, in Las Vegas, San Diego, Arizona. I've turned them all down. I've had numerous, like 20 some odd coaching opportunities to coach professionally for independent league teams, and I've turned them down, and overseas, as I said, because I like the situation I have now. But so there was a lot in between there, which I'm sure we're going to get to, but that's pretty much
hey, so yeah, I mean, but that's you said something. It's great to sit and listen to anyone that has had any kind of success in anything. Like it's so cool, man. And I love this show, and I love having people like you on, because like sometimes people don't realize how much they've really overcome until they're like on a show like this, and we start chatting, and they look back and go, damn, you know what? Wow, man, I have overcome a lot. And those of you listening now, Claudio, you said something that I want to touch on. You talked about, hey, they could see my maybe I wasn't the tallest guy, maybe I, but I didn't have a good outing, right, throwing. But what they couldn't see is the same thing that nobody measured with Tom Brady, right? Was the heart. Or Pete Rose. Yeah. It was the heart. They didn't know, man, this guy, like if they could have seen his heart and his and his determination, and that, hey, that didn't work, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go, right? You just keep going forward, and doors start opening, and they start going like this. But so many people, upon failure, we're taught in society, we're taught in school, if you get an F, and listen, some of your students might listen to this. I'm obviously not promoting failing, right? but because then you can't play, right? You guys won't be able to play. But some of your players, but we're taught in school, we're brought up that failing is really bad, and in life, it's actually really good. That's what helps us grow. It's what helps us expand. And when you hit failure, when you hit something, like you did, is just keep moving forward. Hey, this didn't work, but I'm gonna at least do something, right? I'm gonna go forward. I may not know what the future holds. Maybe it isn't this. And sometimes but so many people, upon failing at something, it's so easy. I've done it. We've all done it. Is to shut down. But when you would fail at something, what was it that anything in life that you've had, and we'll get into some cool stuff you've done, what was it that just kept you going? Was it that you just wanted to prove other people wrong, which can be a huge driving force? I know that was for me. What was it in you?
3 things. I'll go in reverse order. I had a lot of people that I looked up to that had impact. Guys that had been through things and achieved. One of them is a guy named Vinny Paz. I told you they made a movie of his life a couple years ago, Bleed for This, former 5-time world champion. He was always in my corner as well. And I wrote a letter in 1994 to him, telling him things just aren't going well. I'm not getting anywhere. I was, how old was I? I was 32 years old. I said, things just aren't going anywhere. Or 30. I was 30. And I couldn't mail the letter. Couldn't mail it. Because here's a guy who came back from a broken neck and won 3 more world titles in boxing after he broke his neck. All right? So, how could I tell him I'm quitting when he didn't quit? Then the other thing were the people who wanted me to quit. Okay? That relatives who I cared for, who did nothing but bust my chops, berate me, make fun of me, and just continuously say over and over, it's not going to happen. Pipe dream, be a man, grow up, all that garbage. So I was not going to let them win. And finally, my parents. Now, by that time, my mom had passed. Okay, so I was 23 years old, head coach at Quaker Valley High School. I said, okay, I can do this, right? Then May of 1988, we find out that my mom had stomach cancer. And you want to talk about a punch in the mouth. That was devastating to me, devastating, because I was extremely close to both my parents. She was only 48 years old, and the doctor flat out said she's got 6 months left to live. And you want to talk about a punch, and I'll never get a punch like that ever again. So she did pass, but I remember and she fought like hell. And I told her, Mom, I said, you got to keep fighting. She says, I will keep fighting if you keep fighting for our dream. I said, you know I will, Ma. I said, but don't worry about that. Let's worry about you. Well, she passed away in my arms in the hospital. And remember at the funeral home, as soon as I walked into the funeral home, as soon as I walked in, here's the podium, where you sign your name at a funeral. And here's this guy. I won't even give you a title. He was a relative. My friends know who he is. And there's the casket. He comes up to me and he says, now it's really time to grow up and quit baseball. Now, my mom just passed away. Why the hell would you say that to me? Right? So I go to my mom and I gave her a kiss, DJ. That's the first time that she never kissed me back. And I could not leave that casket, And my dad came over to me, to my right, and because I was just there for a while, and he said, I know what you're thinking. I get emotional talking about it. And this is 30 years ago, October 8th.
Wow.
Matter of fact, what's today? The 11th, right?
Yeah, the 10th.
Yeah, today was the actual funeral back then. So my dad said to me, he said, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're feeling. And he said, don't. Because at that time, I didn't want to do baseball. I could care less. I didn't want to. He grabbed my hand. He said, I know what you're thinking. He says, you're the only thing left to keep her name and dream alive. So don't quit. As soon as he said that, as corny as it may sound, it's like you start hearing the Rocky theme, right? And I said, okay. Yeah, exactly. And I said, okay. And I grabbed my mom's hand. I said, Mom, you didn't quit. And I said, I'm sure as hell not going to quit. And you had a bigger battle than me. So from there, I didn't quit. And then in 1990, I was named interim head coach at Penn State Beaver. And we got off to a slow start. Long story short, we ended up winning the championship, which is this ring. And guess what day this ring is? We won this championship October 8th, 1990. My mom passed away October 8th, 1988. My dad's birthday was October 8th. So all kind of things, when we were winning the game at the time, 13 to nothing, I was in tears, right? Because I was thinking about my mom. And I said, she's not, I wish she was here. And it hit me. I said, you know what? She sees it. She does see it. I just felt it. And I know she was seeing it. And, that's what kept me going. I had some people to look up to. I had a lot of people. Jim Valvano, the coach from NC State, who became a friend of mine. Donnie Lalonde is a former light heavyweight champ of the world. He went through hell in his life. And, let me say this, overcoming obstacles. Yes, I've overcome obstacles, no question. But like Donnie, for example, was abused as a kid and left home at age 15, became Canadian light heavyweight champ at age 23, world light heavyweight champ at age 27. He had some obstacles to overcome. Vinny Paz just won his second world title in 1991, breaks his neck. They said, you might not walk again, let alone fight. And his famous line was, you don't know what kind of man I am. And he came back and won 3 more world titles. So, I get emotional talking about these people because they had so much impact in my life. And they were friends. And Vinny and Donnie are still friends. Unfortunately, Jim passed away. But so they motivated me. And as much as I love my parents and as much as they did for me, those people who were against me, especially these particular two, and they kept saying these things over it, and they would start this stuff every damn time out of the blue. They would start, hey, when are you going to quit baseball? When are you going to give this up? What the hell do you care? Like my dad used to say, you're not paying for anything. You don't feed the kid. You don't house the kid. You don't clothe them. What do you care? You know, and it isn't somebody said, oh, they were just looking out for your own good. No, these people were sick. There's some people in life that aren't happy with their life. They don't want you to be happy with yours. Absolutely. So they motivated the hell out of me. So again, I had great role models that inspired me to this day. To this day, I had those people who busted my chops, who said it wasn't going to. I had some people I worked with, which I'm sure we'll get to later, that made things a little harder for me, that threw grapes in front of me. We'll get to that story. And then, and of course, my parents. And I had some good friends now that were there for me. You know, 3 of them right now, or 4 of them right now who contact me all the time. My friend Rick Mitchell, Vinny Kaplak, Nick Kaplak, Eric Jackson, Lurie, they're always supportive of me, and they're always telling me, hey, you know, you're going to do all right. And when I do something well, they're there to give me a clap, you know, and I appreciate that very much. So I have some good people in my life too. But sometimes if you use your worst enemy, they can be your best ally.
Absolutely, man. I mean, it's like, you know, you and I, you know, relate a lot to baseball. It's like, hey, it's okay. People say, you know, don't play with you know, don't have emotions. Let your emotions be it. And I think it's like, hey, it's okay to play. You want to play with emotion.
Exactly.
But you have to harness it, right? Like if you can get pissed off, but use that to motivate you, right? Exactly. Like, yeah, you use the anger, use the, you know, this, you know, maybe some of you are listening to this, had abuse, or, you know, I went through things, but maybe some of you had ADD, you know, massive ADD, like I used to. And I say used to, because I don't like speaking life into things, but basically, like, listen, anybody that has achieved anything in life has overcome just tremendous. I mean, from Oprah Winfrey to Michael Jordan to you, Claudio, to me, like those of you listening, if you're having obstacles in your life, great. If you just find something to inspire you to keep going forward, I mean, it's just like things, you know, I think one of the biggest things, man, that people don't get, Claudio, is patience. You know, like, I mean, it's doing the little things every single day consistently. Like I had a lady just earlier, it's like, hey, DJ, I want to be you in a couple years. And I'm like, it took me more than a couple years. Like, do you really want to know what I had to go through? You know?
Jim Valvano had a great line. He said it took me 20 years to become an overnight sensation.
Yeah. I mean, you look at anyone, right? Kevin Hart, anyone. So if, you know, there was this, I had a guy, Jeremy Poulon, this good friend of mine from Real Estate Social in the Moment show. And Jeremy said there was this, it's a Japanese, old ancient Japanese tree, and it would take 5 years to harvest and water. And literally every single day, I forget the name of this specific tree.
It's a bamboo. It's a bamboo.
Okay. And
it stays like this. It stays like this, and all of a sudden it shoots up. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
It takes 5 years before it breaks the ground, and then once it breaks the ground, it grows 90 feet in like 45 days. So the question was there growth happening? You know, was it growing? Or did it just start to grow? So let's get into, I really want to touch on, so you did something, because I don't want to miss that, like the really big stuff that you've done. So those of you that have seen the movie Invincible, about, is it Vince Papale?
Vince Papale.
About the story about Vince Papale that Mark Wahlberg played.
Right.
Invincible, the football story. If you haven't seen it, you got to go. Maybe you've been living under a rock, but if you haven't seen it, definitely go see it. So Claudio, the same, because of your resiliency in the same thing in life, in baseball, just constantly moving forward, regardless of what challenges or obstacles were against you. Share with the people that are listening the opportunity you had come your way with the maker of that movie.
Well, you know, I mentioned those guys earlier, Valvano, Vinny Paz, and Donnie Lalonde, and there's been so many people who have impacted my life. And Vince came along later on when I was an adult. You know, you leave that door open for more impactful people. So obviously I went to see the movie, and it's about a guy who walks onto the Philadelphia Eagles team, and he makes the team, and he had no shot in hell to make it, but he did make it. And Vince has gone on to a very successful speaking career, business career. He's a great guy, and I consider him a friend now. And it's crazy, all these guys that I become friends with. That's another story. But Vince wrote a book called Be Invincible. And my story was included on that. His writer, the guy who wrote the book, heard my story, I guess. And one thing led to another. And I was absolutely honored. I'm in 3 or 4 books, my story, but that was the first one. And very proud of that. That meant a lot to me that my story is in that book. And hopefully, somebody sees that, because you see a Michael Jordan, you say, well, hell, I can't jump like that. I can't shoot like that. I don't have that intrinsic talent like that guy has. Well, with me, I'm not doing Joe Hummel here, but I'm just some guy from Swickley, PA, right? And if you have a lot of heart and patience, and I have hundreds of rejection letters, but you keep pushing forward, keep chopping away at that tree, keep being like that bamboo shoot, things can happen. Or one quick story, which I love, it's about the guy who has the donkey, and the donkey slipped into a water well. Somehow he got into a water well and he falls. He says, oh my God, he's going to die. I can't get him out. So he says, I'm going to bury him. So he keeps getting shovels of dirt, and he throws dirt on this donkey. Keeps throwing dirt on the donkey. Dirt, rocks, right? To bury him, right? So the donkey, every time dirt or rocks would hit him, he'd shake it off, and he'd step on it, and he'd step on it. He'd step on it until he was able to get out of that well. So the more dirt thrown on you, the more chance you have to get out of that hole. So, so like I said, I don't want to sit here and tell you that I've overcome anything, like I said, Vinny with a broken neck. I've had to overcome a lot of negativity in my life from people who cared for me, or I cared for. They didn't care for me. And then not only that, but a lot of rejection letters. After the championship year of 1990, I just start writing teams. I said, I'm 25 years old. My first year as a head coach in college, I win a championship. I wrote every team in the world, minor league team, major league organization, companies, and I kept getting the same answer. Thank you for your interest in that team, but the position you are currently applying for is already being filled. We will keep your name on file. Best in baseball, which means what? They're going to throw the thing away. Two people called me. Dave Dombrowski, he's the general manager of the Boston Red Sox, and Roman Gabriel, the legendary, iconic quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams, who worked for the Charlotte Knights and the Texas Rangers. And they were both supportive and told me, hey, this is the way it is right now, but do X, Y, and Z and keep trying. And when I do keep in touch, I keep in touch with Dombrowski. I always thank him for that. And Roman Gabriel and I are friends. I thank him for that. And here I am years later.
Yeah, what is your view, Claudio, on surrounding yourself with the right people?
Great question. Hey, you're a real estate guy. Let me ask you something. What is the famous line in real estate? What are the 3 most important things in real estate?
Location, location, location.
And I say the 3 most important things in life are good people, good people, good people. You have to have good people around you. I had the best parents anybody could have, the best parents. I had to eliminate a lot of those negative people, and it took me a hell of a long time.
Yeah. It's easy when we care, when we love people.
Yeah.
And we care, in business, in everything in life, it's so easy to keep them around.
Yeah.
Even though, we convince ourselves that, oh, well, this is just how they are and this and that. But when you really, I think as we all, for me, it's been as I've evolved and grown and really understood who I really am, who DJ really is, what serves me and what doesn't, and the kind of people that serve me and the kind that don't, not in a selfish way, but, you have to be a little bit selfish, because
you have to be. Yeah. There's an old saying, another Italian saying, an aching tooth is better out than in. And I had to pull these teeth. I had to get those guys out of my life. And it took a hell of a long time because, to be very honest with you, I was an idiot. I brought them back in, or I let them stay in, and it was my fault, but not theirs, because that's just who they were. It was their nature, the frog and the scorpion. And
hey, you got people that are either pissed, like Will Smith said, either you got people that are pissing on your dream, or flaming it.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is listen to songs, watch movies. There's a good guy, there's a bad guy. There's the villain, there's the hero, whatever. These people just happen to fit that role of the bad guy. And I'll be very blunt with you. So, and they knew it, well, it's just the way they were. And why they were that way, they were sick. But again, they have no idea how they motivate me. And like I said, it was hard getting all those rejection letters, especially after my mom passed, and then it got to the point where, okay, I was a Penn State Beaver, and I left to go to another college, community college, Beaver County, was head coach there. Then I got to be a Division I assistant coach. And that head coach and I were just not, we did not mix well. We did not match well, to say the least. And, and that's okay. There's no law that says you have to get along with me. Then I left that school, Duquesne University, and I disappeared for 2 years because nobody wanted me. And I wonder why, but that's another story. But then I got a job at Quigley Catholic High School. So I was climbing the ladder pretty quick, right? And championships and awards and all that. Division I went to Quigley Catholic High School. The guy who hired me, his name was Ed Driscoll. He hired me to be assistant coach. Fantastic guy. He was great with me. The other people I worked with outside of Coach Waz were not that good with me, to be honest with you. But that's okay. So I was making a whopping $800 a year in baseball. I was as far from that pro dream as you can possibly get. Then, if you don't mind me going into how I got my first pro job, me and my wife Linda, were going to see Vinny Pazienza fight. His name was Pazienza back then. It's Paz now. But anyway, and I got some reading material in Baseball Weekly. There was an ad for players to play overseas. So I told my wife, it was November 3rd. I said, when we get back, I'm going to call this company. I can speak Italian, read and write Italian. I'll see what's up. The guy's name was James Gamble of the Global Scouting Bureau. I called him or emailed him at least 2-3 times a month from November of 99 to January of 2001. So he called me in January of 2001. He says, Claudio, don't do backflips, but I have a job offer for you. I said, what? How would you like to be the head coach of an Italian team, the manager of an Italian pro team in Italy? It was for a lot of money, a hell of a lot more than $800 a year. And I said, can I call you back? He said, what? Can I call you back? He said, Claudio, you've been calling me every 5 minutes, and I'm giving you an opportunity of a lifetime. I said, James, it's a big jump. I said, you mind if I call you back? He said, sure, call me back. So my dad was home. He lived with us, obviously. And I told him about it. I knew for sure he would say no. He said, we can't leave. You can't leave me. And my dad had, he was ill. He said, yeah, let's go. I said, Dad, you don't understand. We go to Italy. It's a lot different world than here. He said, no, that's all right. We'll go. I said, oh, man. So I know my wife, Linda, who was pregnant at the time, our baby was due in May. I said, she'll say no for sure. She comes home from work. I said, Lynn, this is the offer. She said, okay, let's go. I said, you didn't let me finish. We have to go to Italy for 10 months out of the year. Yeah, we'll go. If this is what you want to do, she was always supportive. My wife was always supportive. Never said anything. She said, yeah, let's go. If I had said, let's go to, Brazil. Yeah, let's go to Brazil. I said, Lynn, so I'll never forget, DJ. I went to Three River Stadium before they tore it down. And I walked around for 2.5, 3 hours. And I said, am I being selfish here? Because I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave here, right? But if I don't, I can't support a kid with $800 a year. And I was working with my dad in his landscaping business, but that wasn't the dream or goal. And I remember coming home, and my dad said, where were you? And I told him. It was February of 2001. And right before they tore the stadium down. Or late January. And because I still putting James off, right? And he said, he gave me a great line. He said, if you have to think about an offer like that long, it's not for you. Called James up. I said, James, I appreciate it more than you know. I get emotional talking about it. I said, but I can't take it. And he said, now I went through hell thinking about this, right? He says, okay, how'd you like to work for me? I said, that's what I wanted to do to begin with, right? And then from that day on to today, I've been with the Global Scouting Bureau. And that guy, he was on my podcast. And if you listen to it, at the end of the show, I got very, very emotional because this guy gave me the break of a lifetime. James Gamble, the Global Scouting Bureau, signed me to be a professional scout. The next year, named me general manager of the company. It's easy to hire me now, but back then, you know, I just had a high school and college career. Nobody in pro was going to touch me. And from him, he's not an owner of the company. He's not my boss. He's one of my best friends. He's my brother, and I love the guy. And he's done so much for me. And through him, a branch of the Global Sky Bureau is how I got the Carnegie Mellon job in 2005. And I couldn't be happier with what I do professionally or in my life, period. I wish my parents were still here. I know my dad, unfortunately, he did get to see me scout professionally, but he passed in February of 2004. And as I said, my mom passed in October of 1988. But I believe with all my heart, DJ, that they see what I'm doing and they're proud of me and they're happy. And, you know, but
yeah, man,
it was hell.
And you know, you talked about something, Claudio, that's really cool is the rejection. So a lot of people that will watch the show here, listen to our podcast and say, gosh, you know, maybe I just got a rejection letter, or maybe I got some bad news from the doctor, or maybe, you know, people in sales, right? They go, well, I called, you know, 10 people and none of them have money. Or I called and it's like, you know, what I want you guys to understand is that, like, there's no secret sauce. I think the solution is you just have to keep going. You have to grow up and stop going for that pipe dream. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, please. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, but you know, you have to, only you can do it. You know, only you can change your mindset. And the cool thing, you guys, is this, and I've learned this, and Claudio, you and I have talked about this over time. We can control our thoughts, our emotions, and our energy, right? So if we can control our thoughts, our emotions, and our energy, what you have to understand is that's within your control. You can't control if someone doesn't answer the phone. You can't control if someone says yes or no. I mean, you can to an extent, but there's a lot of stuff that's out of your control. And I think, like, you know, for me, when I was coming through the Giants organization and blazing through as a young prospect and leading the organization in home runs and RBIs and up at the top at least. And I, you know, the one thing I didn't understand at that time was that I could control these things. And that was why my highs were super high, my lows were super low. I didn't realize that these things were in my control. And that I can control this. I can choose to be happy every day. I can choose to be around people I want every day. I can choose who I want to hire. I can choose who I want to fire. Like, these things are within our control. And so the more that I've understood for me personally, and you can, relay this to your life, that these are things that I can control. This is all I'm going to give energy to. The stuff I can't control, I just try to not, if I give any energy to it, I try to catch it and kind of just not pour much into it. You know what I mean?
Well, I like the line you said earlier. I'm not going to breathe life into it. I'm not going to give it life. I like that line. I wish I'd have had it back then. But no, you're right. And you know, it was hard to get rejected over and over again, you know. And then, like I said, I was as far away from my dream as possible. And people made it even worse by saying the things that they said. Cruel things, you know. And again, but he just kept throwing dirt on me, and I kept stepping on that dirt to get out of that hole. And hey, you know, anything can happen in life. Several years ago, a friend of mine, Eric Jackson-Laurie, he's an attorney. We were at the Rochester Boxing Hall of Fame, and usually I flew down. And this time I drove. Eric drove down. And on the way back, we got into a wreck. The car spun around, was spinning. I think we spun 5 times. I heard the car slid down an embankment, and we should have rolled down, but thankfully we didn't. The car was totaled, but nothing happened to us. But when that car was spinning, it didn't matter what Eric did for a living, what I do for a living, where we live, who we know, what we do. None of that matters. So, you know, as grateful as I am, also understand, you know, not to get, you know, people, I don't like the arrogance in people or the cockiness. Confidence is one thing. And like Boom Boom Mancini, the boxer, says, it's a quick trip from the penthouse to the outhouse, you know. So I always am cognizant of that. And that's why I do different things other than just, I don't put all my eggs in baseball, because you never know what's going to happen. That's why I do multiple things and get involved in other things, other businesses. But it's been a hell of a ride. And when I was in 8th grade, there was an assembly, there was a speaker there. He wasn't very good. But I remember saying, if I ever get into a position where I can have impact on people, I would like to do that. And I enjoy telling my story. And hopefully, the old thing, if one person can learn, can benefit from it, then it's worth it. So hopefully people hear your story, my story, or any of your guests' story. That's why I think your show is so great, because everybody's gone through something, DJ. Nobody, my mom used to, there's an old Italian saying, nobody has worn the shirt of the content. Everybody goes through something. And
I was looking for this piece of paper here, Claudio. So I had this, hey man, you will love this. I've never told this to you. I think I talked about it on a show. So check this out. I'm getting this framed. This is from the 3rd grade, right? So those of you listening, I got to point to this. So listen to this. This is in the 3rd grade, Miss Harris class. What we want to be when we grow up? Dude, this, you've never heard this. This will put chills on you. It says baseball. I would like to be a baseball player. I like to play baseball very much. I'm on the best team in the minors, and I'm the best player in the minor leagues. No lack of confidence, right? And someday I would like to grow up to be a pro baseball player like Willie Stargell or Dave Parker. Both of those baseball players that I just named play for the Pittsburgh Pirates, but my favorite team is the Cincinnati Reds. So the crazy thing is, and I share this with people from time to time, is, when you put something in your mind and you focus on it and it's there and you give attention, energy to it, this didn't manifest exactly like I said, but I got a chance to play pro baseball. I do a ton of business and have had a ton of success doing business and in real estate stuff out of Pittsburgh. So it didn't manifest exactly like I wanted, but I wrote it one time in the 3rd grade. My mind thought of it once. And so think about what you're thinking about, what you guys and gals are thinking about on a daily basis. Do you have a vision board that you want to achieve in your life? Do you have a perfect day that this is, the more that you think about that and give energy to it, the faster it will show up. It's like I remember I got this baby blue sports car a while back, never used to see them, right? All of a sudden I get it. I go to dinner that day.
Everybody has one.
And I see 3 of them. I'm like, who has a freaking car like you know what I mean? I'm like, what the heck? And so those are things, I think people like you and I, we were, but we really weren't, educated like, hey, you know what? Do a vision board, write out your perfect day and all these things. So even though we think about things, they will manifest over time. It just might take longer. So the more power, the more energy that we can give to whatever it is we want, the faster that it will show up and manifest. And like with you, Claudio, I want to be I want to play pro ball, right? And it didn't manifest exactly like you wanted it, but like you get to be around pro players, you get to scout guys that maybe go and play pro ball. So it happened in a different way, but it still, it still happened. And I think that's the cool thing, man, about just about, our mind and what we can manifest.
It's crazy. I used to go to the driving range, and this is like in the 90s, and it's corny, but I used to say to myself that when I was a little kid, I used to watch these celebrity golf tournaments, right, on TV. And so I used to go to the driving range and pretend that certain athletes were watching me take this drive, that I was participating in these things. Well, I've been invited to these things about 7 celebrity golf tournaments a year, from Pennsylvania to Ohio to New Mexico. They've flown me to New Mexico, and I'm playing with former Steelers and Pirates and Hall of Famers from other sports, Phil Niekro, Ted Hendricks. The list goes on and on. And so one time I was driving, and Rocky Blyer's over there. I said, what the hell am I doing playing with Rocky Blyer? You know what I mean? It's crazy that, and you mentioned that about the car. I wanted to buy a Cadillac at one point, this one particular Cadillac, and all I saw were these Cadillacs. Now I have a Chrysler 300. All I see are Chrysler 300s. So really, I agree with that. People can say, oh, that's all garbage. Well, what you focus on a lot of times is what you get. And like I said, I just didn't give up. And I, again, my mentors / inspirations, the people who were against me, and my parents. And I've never, all the interviews I've done, I've never worded it like that. But those three things, got me from point A to point B. And I keep at it. I never put my hands behind my head, my feet up on the desk and say, okay, okay, I got some awards or whatever, but I want a few more. Okay, I won 3 championships. Great. I'd like to win 3 more.
Yeah.
I'm not done. I want to write a book. I just said, I want this podcast that I'm doing to go through the roof. And to be honest with you, at this stage of our lives, money is incredibly important. I have a kid going to college next year, so I enjoy chasing a buck. I enjoy doing all these different things. So far so good. But at the same, again, it's a quick trip from the penthouse to the outhouse. So I never take my eye off of that punch, and always moving forward.
Yeah, man. It's like, hey, I got to, single A. How do I get to double A? Hey, I got to double A. How do I get to triple A? And that's, so many people in life, oh, I'm done, or, I want to retire or whatever. Not everyone's obviously cut to be an entrepreneur, but those of you that are listening to this that are, even if you're not, I mean, like, when you constantly have a vision for your life, and like just hearing you, Claudio, you're how old now?
I'll be 54 on Sunday.
Okay, so 54, and now that we know we're related, I gotta at least call you or something. But so basically, I'll send you something on Amazon.
There you go.
But basically, you guys and gals, that's something that it's so amazing. Like you look at people like LeBron, like I mentioned this before, right? LeBron James, like how does this guy after whatever 15 years just get better and better every year when he's attained like the highest of the highest level? It's because he wants to, right? It's because,
Tom Brady.
Yeah, it's like Tom Brady. How can I be a little bit better, right? How can I go to that next level? How can I've got this business, but I really love doing this podcast. How can I start this podcast? And what it does is, like, when you're doing something that you love and you're constantly evolving and moving, it just like it gives you, it makes you feel alive, like you have something more to live for,
Exactly. You said the word, makes you feel alive.
And you got some great messages on your show, which we're going to talk about here, but that can actually outlive us, right? Like these messages like this, maybe someone, when I'm passed away, you're passed away, watches this and says, damn, you know what, man, that guy overcame that, or he was able to do that. And really, it wasn't, like you said, none of us, right, anything special. I think the people that win in life really rarely are the most talented. They're the ones that just are consistent every single day, right?
They keep at it. Yeah, I'm with you.
I mean, what do you tell your players? The guys that have the highest level of success that you've seen from, it doesn't matter any sport, right? They're rarely, I mean, sometimes they're the most talented, but they're rarely the most talented. They just have this insane, work ethic. Or do you?
Last year, the team that won 2 straight conference titles, they graduated, and I have a new group, fantastic group. As I said, we're 4-1, super group. But the guys who graduated last year, we were really expecting a big season, and we got off to a slow start, and something like 1-6 or something like that. And it was really frustrating because we were hitting the ball right. It was like 12 people were on the field, right? Meanwhile, our opponents are getting little dinkers and dunkers, and they're winning the game. So I told them, I said, look, we're definitely, our backs are definitely against the wall. We have to win. I forgot the number. I think it was like 8 in a row, 8 conference games in a row. And somebody's going to say, how do you win 8 conference games in a row? Well, how do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. And they bought into that. So when we broke the huddle, everybody is saying win, or whatever other teams would say. We would say elephants. And people probably were laughing. But when they said that, I said, They got it. They get it. And not only that, but sometimes the coach gets a little too much credit. I had guys who listened and played with passion and heart. Excuse me. And they were a fantastic group that are gone. One guy works for the state. He's at the State Department. Another guy, these guys are all very successful guys. But anyway, after they graduated. But we didn't win 8 games in a row. We won like 4 or 5. Then we lost 1. Then we won a few more, but we were done. But they gave it the effort, you know. So in life, like if you'd have told me when I was 8, all the hurdles I have to go to where I am, oh my God, hell with it. I'm not. So you don't look at it all the way down there. You just take one step at a time, you know. And again, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You look at this elephant, you say, how the hell am I going to eat this elephant? One bite at a time. It's like chopping a tree. You're not going to pop it with one swing. You keep chipping away. That's one thing I've always done. You know, you just keep accumulating victories, and before you know it, you know, you get Rocky Marciano was 49-0. He didn't get 49 wins right away. It took time. He had to get number 1, then number 10, and so on and so forth. And things can happen. You know, for example, I mentioned 2 guys, Vinny Paz and Donnie Lalonde. Donnie's from Canada, and as I said, abused as a kid, leaves home. He was about as far away from a championship as humanly possible, but he said, I'm going to be a world champion. World champion. Vinny's from Little Old Rhode Island, 5'7" on a good hair day. Okay. And he was lightweight champ, super middleweight champ, junior middleweight champ, movie of his life. How did that happen? By chipping away and working hard, not listening to the naysayers. Yeah. Keep going. Vince Papale becoming a Philadelphia Eagle. Everybody made fun of him, said it wasn't going to happen. Well, again, you with what you became, I'm sure you had a lot of naysayers when you said you were going to go into the real estate game.
Oh, yeah. You're going to buy you live in Seattle. You're going to buy properties in Pittsburgh. Oh, right. Yeah. Good luck.
Everybody has the answers to everything. Everybody knows, but you see, they don't have the heart to do something themselves. Okay. They don't want to say, but a lot of times, like I said, like these 2 people I was thinking about or related to, whatever, they had good lives and they were making a buck. I don't want to say good lives. They were making money, but for whatever the hell reason, they just didn't want me to achieve anything. But like I said, I thank them every day for
Hey, Claudio, there's going to be tens and tens, probably hundreds of thousands of listens to this on, YouTube, Stitcher, on the podcast, on the show over time. You want to put do we want to put their names on here? No, I'm just kidding. We'll leave that.
You know what though? It's like this. All the things I just said about these 2 people. Let's just say my cousin Chris. He's going to listen to it. He knows I'm not talking about him. My friends Vinny, Rick, Nick, and Eric. They know I'm not talking about them. You know what I'm trying to say? Like if I talk to if you heard an interview and I said, yeah, a good friend of mine was a professional baseball player for the Giants. Now he owns real estate. You know I'm talking about you. Yeah. Right? These people know. You know, some of them are no longer with us, and that's okay. As cold as that sounds, but I don't want to get into all that. These people wish nothing but the worst for me. Nothing but the worst for me. And I'm talking about the worst. And that's okay. Like I said, I appreciate them now because without them, I don't know if I would have accomplished anything because I was not going to let them win. And I'm not here trying to sound like any hero or a perfect guy or anything like that. I'm just saying they didn't have to act that. I never threw anything in their face. These people were very successful at what they did. Okay. But they just wanted to see me fail. And you know what? That's okay. And I appreciate what they did.
Well, you know, Tony Robbins says something that's really important. We do, as humans, we do things for 2 reasons: the desire to avoid pain or the need to gain pleasure. So your drive was like, right, you took that pain and was like, you know what? I am not going to experience that pain and have them, I don't care what I got to do. That is not happening because I'm not going to experience that pain. And, you know, whether we believe this or not, or, you know, it's a lot of it is subconscious, but, you know, it's that survival mode, you know, where it's like, hey, that is not happening. I'm going to avoid that pain and I'm going to do whatever the hell I got to avoid that pain, because that shit ain't happening. And
That's
so,
right.
you know, and so listen, you have obviously your own show that inspires a lot of people. I'm going to put it up on here on the screen. Those of you that are listening to this and not watching it, you can go to www.claudio, CLAUDIO, Reilsono, REILSONO.com. And I'm going to post it on here on the screen right now, so people can see it. So tell everyone that's listening, Claudio, a little about like your show, your podcast, and how they can sign up for it. And basically the kind of I guess inspiration and content that they can hear on it.
Well, I'm going to be interviewing a lot of big name athletes from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and a couple current guys, coaches. But I've had Jim Rooker, former Pittsburgh Pirate. You're going to be on next week. I can't wait to have you on. Sid Bream, the former Pirate. I have Roman Gabriel. Vince Papali is going to be on. His wife, I'm going to ask her to be on. Donnie Lalonde is going to be on. Rocky Blyer is going to be on. Al Oliver, Robin Cole. And it's not just guys from Pittsburgh. It's going to be guys, like I said, I'm going to get Vinny Paz on, ask him to be on. So, but these guys all have stories. But like with you, one of the things we're going to get into, and one of the things I'm always interested in, like Greg Norman is one of my favorites. I have his thing. I always wear all his clothes. He said, I wanted to prepare for my life after I was #1 golfer, and look at the success that this guy's had, right? In clothing and wine and glasses. And matter of fact, after I read his book, I said, I can do that. I can do multiple things, you know, not just baseball. Because one of these, I'm trying to learn how to swim before I drown. One of these days, I might not be coaching or scouting, whatever. So I'm trying to reinvent myself, so to speak, right? But on this show, I'm going to be talking about, I'll talk about their careers, but the transition from career to so-called their life's work, as Chuck Noll used to say, how they made the transition, what obstacles they overcome, how are things going financially, how were things financially, and these guys are willing to share their stories and what businesses they got involved in. Roman Gabriel was involved in the car business, the leather business, the golf business, speaking, coaching. Jim Rooker owned a restaurant here in Pittsburgh, well, outside of Pittsburgh, and then he ran for Congress. Sid Bream was involved in real estate. Now he is I think he's like a deacon for Major League Baseball. He's a speaker. He's done baseball camps. So, you know, we have such a long life, and that window of sports is a small sample. You know,
the thing that's great about sports, and you probably you'll probably totally agree with me on this. If you don't, I'll be surprised. But the great thing about sports, man, is that I look back is all like this. There's so much stuff that translates to life, right? Like how fast can I get over a bad pitch? Right. Is it going to be a whole inning? Is it going to be a whole game? Is that going to leak to a week? How quick can I get over an at bat and leave a bat at bat and not internalize it and give it energy? You know, that is why one of the reasons that you see guys, you know, these guys that are successful in baseball, and you know, go out and they're not afraid to take chances. Like they know, hey, I might swing and miss, but shit, I've been swinging and missing my whole life, right? I swung and missed, you know, 7 out of 10 times, right? And
a great line that you'll love. Joan Rivers' manager, I believe I think his name was, I forgot, Thompson, I believe, but he said, if you want to get struck by lightning, you have to stand in the rain. Great line, you know. And if you want to hit a home run, you know, you got to swing for it. You got to put yourself in that field, you know. And Evel Knievel had a great line, and I wish I knew it by heart. But basically, he was talking about the people who talk about doing something but don't, and the people who do, they're in the arena, you know. And that's, like you said, the word, it does make you feel alive. I look back on things. Yeah, sometimes I wish they were a little easier. And obviously, I wish my mom had in the past. You know, that was tragic. She was only 48 years old. And my dad, you know, too, you talk about inspiration. My dad, his mom died young. He had some family issues, which is another story. He had a lot of health issues. His first wife passed. She was only 32. My mom was 48. He was told he was going to go blind. He had emphysema, and he had none of those things. He ended up being okay. One time, I got to tell you kind of a funny story. It was in 2001. We're going to a supermarket here in Pittsburgh, and he had these thick hands, and he grabbed my hand. And he said, Claude, he says, I've never been so relaxed and so happy in my life. I said, really? He says, really? I said, well, why? He says, number one, I couldn't have asked for a better son. He says, wow. He said, you're doing everything me and your mom ever wanted you to do, and we're so proud of you. You know, again, my mom had passed already, but we're just so proud of you. You married a great girl. He said, I love Linda. And your daughter, he said, oh my God. We named my daughter Ida after my mom. And my dad's name was Olindo. But anyway, he said, you have the most beautiful little girl in the world. He says, my face is sore from smiling at that kid all day long, right? He said, I'm just so happy. I said, but Dad, you know, you went through a lot as a kid. Grandma passed away. Your first wife passed away. You were told you were going to go blind. You were told you were going to have emphysema. You had other health issues. Then my mom passed away. He said, well, hell, I was happy till you brought all that up again. And he got so mad at me, and he cussed me out. He didn't talk to me the rest of the day. But my dad, we had a great relationship, and my friends loved my dad, and my dad loved my friends, and they used to like to stir him up to bust my chops, but that's another story as well.
So basically, Claudio, the cool thing is that, you know, like for me, an outside person looking in, it's like I always look at things from that standpoint, like the Tony Robbins, right? So you wanted to avoid pain by not failing and proving the naysayers wrong. You wanted to gain pleasure, and by pleasing your parents.
Exactly.
Right?
Well put.
By pleasing your parents. So you had two driving factors that really drove you. And so those of you that are listening, you know, maybe you take from Claudio's story and you can find something, but you have to, in my opinion, you have to have something that drives you to gain pleasure. Like, if I do this, I want to be this success because I want my mom and dad to see how important they were to me, and prove them right for always having my back and always being there and always encouraging me. Right. And I want to prove these naysayers wrong, that are, you know, have no life. And so they want to try to make my life miserable, and or make me be nothing because they're nothing. And so, you know, I'm going to show them, I'm going to avoid that pain, and I'm definitely not going to experience that. So there was really two things, it sounds like, that kind of drove you to, you know, anytime you'd hit an obstacle, to just blast through it. Hey, if I can't go around it, I'm going to go through this thing. Right. I'm going to jump over it. I'm going to find a rope and freaking climb it. Like, how can I, you know, it's a glass half full, right?
Exactly. No, you said it all. I mean, I didn't want those negative people in my life to win, because whenever I did fail, they were beaming. And whenever things did go well, I remember, like, some of these trophy or plaques were here in the early 80s, and they were in another spot in my house. They would look at them, and as soon as me and my mom or dad would come in the room, they'd turn away. They didn't want us to know that they were looking at them. They never once said, I got to tell you a quick story. A friend of mine was a chef at this place, and he overbooked the party but underbooked the work or something like that. So me and a few other guys were helping wash dishes and things like that. And his wife saw us and saw this other guy that was related to me. And so I just saw Claudio washing dishes. And this guy goes, I'm finally proud of him. Now, not that there's anything wrong with washing dishes, but that's not what I wanted to do with my life. He was glad that I was, you know, washing dishes, because obviously my dream was done. I was finished, right? And, you know, but again, these people, and I can look you dead in the eye, look dead in the camera, and said, I never did any single thing to these people. Zero, zilch. I didn't even fight back. And I do fight back. I don't throw the first punch, I throw the second 20. But I never threw a punch back at these guys. I let them kick me and punch me and say these things over and over and over, and I never fought back, because I wanted a relationship with them like the idiot that I was. Okay, but that idiot is gone. I'm not that idiot anymore. But they motivated the hell out of me. And, like I said, though, I'm still motivated because I never feel, hey, I got it made. I'm still pushing. Oh, because you never know what's going to happen. You never know what's around the corner. Hey, things were going good in 88. And all of a sudden, my mom gets sick. That was hell. My dad, everything was good. All of a sudden, one morning, he's coughing. 53 days later in a hospital, we were in the hospital 53 days in a row. He passes away. That was hell. So,
yeah, the story with my mom. I mean, you and I were friends then. Retired April 1st, 2010, April 30th, heart attack, dead. And so, I mean, I think, for those of you listening to this, hey, if you're going through something, just realize like stuff's going to come up, obstacles are going to come up. They're absolutely inevitable. I think that the more that you give attention and energy to obstacles, the more that you are going to create them to show up, because you're going to notice those. You're going to notice them more. You're going to pull out of them more. But it's inevitable. Stuff is going to happen in life. It's just staying positive, staying happy, and understanding that your response to and good for you, man, for not jumping in their garbage, because it's so easy to, especially with family. So those of you that are listening, hey, you want to be inspired, go check out Claudio's show, his podcast, and you can go to his site, the ClaudioReilsono.com. You can see it on, I would assume, Claudio, Stitcher. You can download it on iTunes.
Yeah.
And what's it called on there? The Claudio Reilsono Show?
Yeah, it's very creative. Claudio Reilsono Show.
Hey, man.
Keep it simple.
Oh, yeah. So, hey, before we jump...
It'll change. I got a few sponsors that are interested. So the sponsorship will come soon. So then the name will have a little more flash to it.
Well, you've got a great show. You've got a big following. And those of you that are watching this, listening to this, definitely, if you want something to be inspired about, especially if you're a sports person or a sports guy or gal, definitely check this out. You're going to be like inspired, motivated on a weekly basis. Also, hey, I wanted to ask you real quick.
Yes.
Show us, can you take the phone and show, I want people to see that Willie Stargell award that you won. Are you able to?
Yeah. All right. Excuse my hand there. Let me bring it in here where there's more lights. There's a Hall of Fame thing. I got to show you that.
Yeah. Show me a couple things. Show people a couple things that you have.
Well, here's the Willie Stargell Lifetime Achievement Award that I won in, I believe, 2011.
Wow.
It's the Italian Coach of the Year Award, 2016. Carnegie Mellon, 2011 Baseball Hall of Fame. Then some articles, a proclamation from Pittsburgh, Allegheny County. Some game balls. I left a few articles with my items with my parents because they deserved them. Some trophies. Another thing that in Pittsburgh, there's the Heinz History Center. And I have my uniform, a trophy. I named a tournament after my parents. It's called the Olindo and Ida Reilsono Baseball Classic. We've had it for 4 years, and we've won it 4 years in a row. And one of the trophies is at the Heinz History Center. And real quick, my wife and I and my daughter were walking there last year, and there it was, right next to Dan Marino's award, man. I said, oh my God, there's a picture of me and my mom. And every time I go by that building, I think of that. And so, like I said, I've been so blessed, and I'm grateful. And my prayers pretty much consist of thank you. I had great parents. I have a great wife. I have a great daughter. Hell, I even had a great dog, Grover. And I have some great friends, great people to look up to, and you're included in that. And you've always been an inspiration. And I just want to keep the train moving.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And my daughter and raise my daughter the way my parents did me. And again, what my dad said to me, me and your mom want to give you every opportunity in the world to make your dreams come true. And they did. And I'm doing the same thing with my daughter.
Hey, man, that's the generational change right there, man. So, hey, man, thank you so much, buddy, for being on the show. today. And those of you, again, just go to, you can go to www.claudio, CLAUDIOREI.
Just ClaudioReilsono.com.
Yeah,
no
ClaudioReilsono.com. So, and thanks for being on the show today, buddy.
Thank you,
we'll
brother.
catch up soon. I'm excited to be on your show here next week, I think. And at 8 a.m. my time, so I'll have to be up and going early. But thanks for being on, and we'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Thank you. Hope everybody enjoyed it, and I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, man.